Hey everyone, today we are going to be talking about choosing the perfect social media platform for your business success. Balancing building a successful business and being a superstar mom is hard, and yet in today's digital world, it's more common than ever.
The question becomes, how do we successfully grow a business and children at the same time?
Join us for a candid conversation as we share our insights into marketing and motherhood. I'm Angela Reeder.
And I'm Jessie Valle. Welcome to the Marketing Moms Podcast.
So today we're talking about social media, and this is going to be a fun one for us. We get to talk about all the different sorts of social media, how they get used, who's on them, what you might be looking for if you are trying to market your business on it. And I am looking at this list right now and realizing I am older than all of these. I remember not just that I'm older than all these, but I'm old enough that I was like in my 20s plus when all of these came out.
Okay, so the first thing I feel like we have to say when it comes to social media and your business is start with one.
Yes.
Just start with one.
Yeah.
Angela and I are over 2 years into our podcast, and we still only focus solely on one.
Yeah.
So the best way is to pick one that you've done a little research on, you feel matches your demographic, the people that you're trying to market to, and then just focus on that one until you can grow it. And then when you feel like you're ready, you can expand and include something else, and then expand and include something else. Or you could just stay on the one platform forever. No one says a certain amount of social media platforms you have to be on.
Yeah. I think where people get confused is oftentimes, especially when you're first starting out in business, one of the pieces of advice you get is to get your handle on all of the social media platforms, like every single one. Hurry up and get it before somebody else takes it, which fair. We've been dealing with that ourselves. So I get that, but I think where people get confused is that then they think because they have that handle, they're supposed to be posting
Right.
all of the time on that thing. And it's okay to just have the handle and then not post on it.
Yeah.
If you think that's something that you might use later, or you just don't want someone else to get your handle and like confuse people as to what your brand is.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to actually post on any of the things.
Yeah. Or you could just post and say, hey, thanks for finding me here. Check us out on platform where we are, for more regular, whatever. So yeah, like you can post a message, but yes, like Angela said, I cannot tell you, I actually have several different social media platforms with like the Valle Media handle, and I don't even use it because for my business currently, I'm using at Jessie M. Valle for everything. And I'm like, someday I might want to change it from my name to my business, but for now, like that's where I had started, so that's where I kept. And yeah, like now several years later, I'm glad because I couldn't feel that I might want to make the swap.
Right. And I do want to say, because this episode is mostly focusing on the demographics of the different social media platforms, and like, because that's kind of one of the biggest factors in deciding where you're going to post. You can have one social media platform where you post to your audience mostly and still be really active on another platform as a consumer. So if your audience is mostly on Pinterest, but you're not that demographic, you're usually on like watching TikTok or interacting with other business owners on Clubhouse, that's okay too. You don't have to like, because I'm interacting on this one, I have to post. Like that may not be where your audience is. Like you can consume and also post on different things. So I just wanted to throw that out as well.
Oh, for sure. And also, there are lots of apps that or programs that can help you auto post. So, like, for example, if Angela and I, spoiler alert, we're on Instagram. Everybody should know that if you're listening. Um, because Instagram and Facebook are owned by the same company, a lot of times when we post to Instagram, we'll just auto post to Facebook as well. We're
Right.
not really active on Facebook, but we can toss some up there if it's going to be automatic. That doesn't hurt us
Yeah.
any.
And you get notifications. If someone interacts with your post, you'll get a notification. YouTube is another really good example. When we post an episode, when an episode goes up live, it auto posts to YouTube. And then we get notifications. If someone leaves a comment or interacts with our video, we get a notification. Even though we're not super active on YouTube, we can still be there to interact with people if they're interacting with our post. So it's not like you have to worry about, oh, I'm going to be getting all this engagement and not know. Like you'll know, you'll get notifications.
Yeah. Okay. So when you're ready to choose the perfect social media platform for your business, I would say the first thing to do is to sit down and think about what type of content you're going to be posting. Are you the type that posts videos? Are you the type that just wants text? Are you the type that your business is very visual and so you're going to have a lot of beautiful photos? Like you have to figure out first what type of content. Because like if I'm someone who like honestly, and that's what's kind of silly is like I'm over here like we're audio and yet we're posting on YouTube.
Yeah.
Which we thought would be silly, but we're actually getting listens over there, so I can't complain.
Right. Yeah.
People who want to listen to the podcast on YouTube. So it's fine. But if you like it's harder to come up with visual content sometimes for us because we're audio.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, exactly. And because Jesse's business partner dug her heels in and refuses to do video.
Don't worry, y'all. I have gotten her to do a few videos. It's totally fine.
A couple. Yeah.
Okay, so you also have to think about your potential customer. A lot of times, our potential customers, depending on what your business is, a lot of times our potential customer is us several years ago. So keeping that in mind, that means who we are now and the platforms we prefer now might not have been the platforms we would have preferred 5 or 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's why, like Angela was saying, if you're a consumer on certain platforms, it doesn't mean it doesn't automatically mean that's the right one.
Yes, exactly.
So you got to think about like what are their ages, their interests, their preferences, like what kind of platform do you just in your mind when you think of your ideal customer, where are they at?
Right.
Then next, you're going to want to select a platform that kind of aligns with those demographics. And of course, there are always outliers. Like we can throw generalizations out there, but that doesn't mean that those are the only people on the platform.
I'm looking through our list that we made with like the different social medias and kind of the general demographics. And like, yeah, it's right. But at the same time, I'm looking at some of these that I use or don't use that I'm supposedly in the demographic for. And I'm like,
Yeah.
So if your preferred way of putting out content doesn't necessarily line up with the general demographic, that's not like you can't do this. It's just, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to find your people.
Right.
But I'm very excited to go through our list of social medias.
All right. Well, kick us off. What's the first one?
All right. So the first one is Instagram. That is the one that Jesse and I are typically on because that's the one that's easier for us because of our various preferences as far as content.
And just so you know, we did do a little bit of research. So these aren't like we didn't write these demographics.
We didn't make these up. Yeah.
We didn't create these demographics. So just so you know, we did a little bit of research to see what others were saying about the demographics, so it doesn't mean we agree with them. We didn't write them.
So with Instagram, it's typically going to be younger people, like mid 30s and below. I know the teens still really like Instagram. I haven't figured out why. I feel like it's almost time for Instagram to become an old person social media like Facebook did. But for some reason the young people keep hanging on to it. But if you are a brand that is in like fashion, art, makeup, things like that, travel blogs, those are great places for Instagram because you can make just absolutely gorgeous pictures. And Instagram is becoming more video heavy. I've noticed several times I've scrolled through Instagram and been like, am I on TikTok? Because this is all video.
Yeah.
Like, that's all I'm getting here. So they're definitely trying to jump on that bandwagon, but the beautiful pictures are still like, that's the bread and butter on Instagram. So,
yeah.
Or if you can make funny graphics, like even if you're not necessarily any of those like we're obviously not any of those brands, but if you can make funny demographics or you have, you know, motivational things to say, like there's definitely room for that there. It's just that that's generally where those brands can go and gain a lot of traction.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. The next one is Facebook. So Facebook's definitely broader just because it's been around a lot longer and a lot of people have solidified their space on Facebook. But it's typically the kind of 40 and above community at this point.
Yeah.
I can honestly say it's the only platform my parents use.
Yeah, mine too. Definitely.
But here's the thing. Here's the weirdest thing. If I am curious about a business, like a local business or something like that, where's the first place I go? Facebook.
Absolutely Facebook.
So that's the weird thing is like, even if you're not consistently posting on Facebook, you have to have a business page.
You have to have a business page. And I think at this point, people are more on there for like the Facebook groups. Like I see more from my Facebook groups than I do from businesses that post. Like I like several business pages, but even when they post, I don't see it. And I don't think to go look at their page. So if you are in a niche where having a Facebook group, either public, because you can make them public and then everybody can see, public or private, then that like sort of that would be good for you. That sort of community would be good for you.
Well, and I have to admit, like, what other social platforms do we know that do groups like Facebook? None.
Right. None.
So Facebook still holds that monopoly of groups more heavily than a lot of other places.
There are a few places like, you know, Slack and Discord are starting to kind of move into that space where you can have those channels. But Facebook is so ubiquitous. It's been around for 20 plus years now. Everybody has a Facebook account. It's one of everybody's first social medias. Or it was up until recently. The young people, I think, don't usually. But, you know, everybody has it. So it's really easy. Not everybody has Slack. Not everybody has Discord. So it makes it a lot easier to connect with your audience there and like build a community and an audience to market to people in a way that other social media platforms don't. I think Facebook should really lean into that a lot more.
Yeah.
But nobody at Facebook asked me. So
no. All right. The next one is LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn definitely still holds the title for the best place for business to business interactions.
Yes.
And not only that, a lot of them are more of the big corporations. So if you're someone who works with big companies, like corporate, that kind of stuff, LinkedIn is definitely a place you want to be.
Yes, LinkedIn is definitely the social media for businesses and professionals. If you were a business professional that worked in the corporate world and you're moving into an entrepreneurial space, LinkedIn is a great place for you because you can list all of the places you've worked, all of this, all of that. It's a lot more like a resume than anything else. And it does have a social aspect. You can post things. I've seen people make posts. I've done a few. It's another place you can auto post. I used to have things set up so that when I would put a blog post up, it would auto post to LinkedIn. But it's not as much that as it is about making connections with other people. It's less like, I'm going to put this post up and see what engagement I get, and more like, I'm going to actively be on here making connections with other people. It's less passive than a lot of the other socials.
All right. The next one is X, formerly known as Twitter.
I'm going to be one of those old people that's like 90 and still calling it Twitter. I can't help it. I can't help it. But yeah,
it's so funny. Like side tangent. I was just talking to my husband about that the other day. Like sometimes we give our parents crap because there are things that they just can't change, or they won't change, and they won't just go with the times. And then I'm like, but wait a minute, are we not the same way? Because when we were in school, Pluto was a planet, and yet how many of us refuse to not call Pluto a planet?
Right. Yeah. If you ask me how many planets there are 9.
There are still 9, and Pluto is one of them. It's so funny because my kids were watching a video and where Pluto, like it was a song and Pluto was singing, and they're like, Pluto, you're a dwarf planet. I'm like, don't forget Pluto.
Don't forget Pluto.
Anyway, so that's how I feel. Like, you might stick your feet in the mud and say, I'm only going to call it Twitter, but really, you got to be able to change, Angela. You need to start calling it X, formerly known as Twitter. It's like when Prince became the symbol.
Formerly known as
Prince. And you had to call him artist formerly known as Prince.
Yes, it is the social media platform
until he went back
formerly
to Prince.
known as Twitter.
So that's all I'm saying. Is like, so just wait until it goes back to Twitter.
I would say, to be fair, I'm waiting for it to go back to Twitter. I don't think it's going to be X for very long.
Prince went back to Prince. Issues. That's all I have to say.
And also, on a personal note, Twitter can be, I'm sure, a great place to do things. We have demographics for that we'll get into. Personally, Twitter is a dumpster fire as far as I'm concerned. I do get on Twitter. I don't post. I get on Twitter solely to watch the dumpster fire that is Twitter. Like, that's completely entertainment for me. Yes, it is completely entertainment for me. It has nothing to do with marketing. But if you are marketing on X,
yes, X typically appeals to a wide range. I will say that there are a lot of
wider range.
Here's the interesting thing. I feel like a lot of younger celebrities are on Instagram, and a lot of older celebrities are on X.
Yes. Sorry. I just thought of one we didn't put on our list. It's the forgotten child of social media, and we didn't put it on our list.
Well, because we forgot it. Okay, well, you're gonna have to like message it to me, and I'll search his demographics real quick. Okay. So, and cliffhanger, you gotta stay till the end to find out which one it is.
Which one it is.
Okay, so X, typically Twitter, really does news, politics, trending topics, and it's also slightly for the more male users. Typically.
Yeah, it does.
So that's why, that's why we don't really have a lot to do on there, because it's just never been a platform for us. The interesting thing, I think, is that every single time, real life, every single time something goes down, like, hey, Angela, is Slack down right now? Hey, Angela, is this offline? She will immediately go over to X Twitter and search it, and she'll be like, yep, there's a whole thread about why this sucks.
Yep. That is, and I remember when Twitter first started to kind of fall apart, back when it was still Twitter. It was first kind of started to fall apart, and that was like a running joke for a while. Like, where is everybody going to go to find out if a website is down if there's no Twitter? One thing I've noticed with Twitter that I think is interesting is there used to be big segments of different niches on Twitter. Like, I followed a lot of coding and developer Twitter, and as Twitter has sort of disintegrated and changed, those groups are moving to other platforms, and not necessarily other social media platforms. They're finding other like random platforms to move to, so that like this other platform is where most developers are going, and this other platform is where most fashion people are going. And it's almost like these little platforms are popping up as like a response to the need for something that's not a brand new social media, but people need a place to go, which I think is really interesting. And also, nobody can see it, but Jessie's looking very confused trying to look up the social media platform that I gave her. So I will go ahead and move on to the next social media platform, which is my personal favorite, which is TikTok. And that's funny because in all of our research, I do not meet the demographics for TikTok in any way, shape, or form. Which is probably, I don't post on TikTok. I only do consume on TikTok, which is probably why I don't meet the demographic for it. That's generally younger, Gen Z, young millennials, which I am not one of. And of course, it's video based, so it's very creative, very musical. It's a great way to get followers.
Yeah, I just don't have time for that.
Right. Yes. It's a lot of work. There is a lot of work that goes into even like a 3-minute video, and some of the creators have unlocked 10-minute videos, which I don't usually watch all of. But it is a really great way to, surprisingly great way to make a connection with an audience. There are people that I have followed on TikTok for months, and then just they will casually mention like, oh, I have a podcast, or I have a merch site, or whatever. And I will immediately go to their bio and find their other things, like find all of their other social medias. It's less, at this point, it's less every other post is trying to sell you something, the way Facebook sort of became, where it was like, instead of getting actual information from business owners, you were getting pitched all the time. TikTok is still in that phase where it's more about entertainment and less about like actively selling. So, which I think I see as a trend, aside from Instagram, which has kind of been about selling for a while. A lot of the social medias that tend to skew younger have that factor to them, where it's more about just entertaining with like a side note of selling than like actually actively trying to push products.
That's a really good point, that the different social medias use different tactics for selling. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. The next one is YouTube. So YouTube is still very, very strong.
Yeah, surprisingly strong. It's going strong years after I thought it was going to go.
YouTube, I would say, is the only social media that my husband uses, except
mine too.
But here's the thing: is like he doesn't actually like reply.
Yeah, no.
But there are channels that put out daily videos. He watches them every single day.
Mine too.
Like, seriously? I'm tired of that guy's voice. Every day I have to hear it. Get some headphones, man.
This is another thing where YouTube is different than a lot of the other social media platforms, in that it is very easy, because of their algorithm, to learn a lot about one topic in a short amount of time. Now, you still, as with most social media, you have to filter through all of the misinformation.
Yeah.
But because of the way YouTube is set up, if you watch one video about a topic, you immediately get access to a whole bunch of others.
Yeah. I
in
know
a way that doesn't happen on other social, like you don't go look up something on Facebook and then all of a sudden get access to a whole bunch of other things right immediately the way
yeah,
that YouTube does.
it's true. I'm laughing
So
because the other
it's
day,
very easy, and it's also very easy to find other find other channels
yes,
about that same topic on YouTube in a way that it's a lot more difficult on other social media platforms.
yeah. My husband watched one video about a red panda.
Oh, and now it's just all red
And
pandas
now it's like all red pandas.
everywhere.
He's like, how can I get rid of the red pandas? I'm like, you stop, like, you just
stop
don't.
watching them.
You start
Yeah, you
searching other
don't.
things a lot.
Yes, exactly.
I know. I told him that. I'm like, stop clicking on them. He's like,
Right, stop interacting with
oh,
them. Yes. TikTok does something similar, but I think the fact that you get to the end of a YouTube video and it gives you different
yes, the
options, like you can
recommendations.
watch this video, this video, this video, makes it unique and really, really works well for that platform.
And they're starting to do the YouTube shorts.
Yes, they're also that's where my 14-year-old watches TikToks. Like, because I won't let her have TikTok.
Oh.
So she watches the shorts on YouTube, or she'll watch YouTubers reacting to TikToks. So she gets to see the TikToks that way. It's an interesting workaround, but I let her have it.
You know what's the other interesting thing is both of my kids are practically addicted to YouTube Kids.
Oh yeah, my younger kids love YouTube.
So it's like YouTube is huge depending on the type of business you have. So whether it's the guys that my husband watches that talk about cars and certain vehicles, or if you like collect certain things and you talk about your collection, or like my kids where they watch video gamers doing runs and or talking about certain toys, or like YouTube is a really, really great place for hobbies. Like, to be honest, like if I need a tutorial on something, the first place I
was
go
just gonna
is
say that.
YouTube. Like, I don't go to
Much like
Instagram to
if
find
you're
out
looking
how
up
to
a
do this thing on
business,
Photoshop. Yeah.
if you're looking up a business, you go to Facebook. If you want to know if a website's down, you go to Twitter. If you need to know how to do something, you go to YouTube.
So
So
use
especially if your
those.
business is inclined toward telling people how to do stuff or showing off things like that, then YouTube is a really great place. And I think it gets overlooked a lot as a social media. People forget. It's a little bit like Pinterest. People forget it's a social media platform.
Yeah. YouTube is also really good. I would say it's really good for like any service provider, right?
Yeah.
So part of you thinks, oh no, what if I tell someone how to do something and now they can do it themselves? Yes, they can. But for every person that says they're going to do it themselves, there's 5 people over here that just say, can you just do it for me? You clearly know how because you just did a video on it. You know how. Can you just do it for me?
Can you just do it for me?
It's like when I went on YouTube and fixed my washer, like by changing out a part by watching a video instead of hiring someone to do it. I was that one person that did it. Now, if it didn't work out, I would have turned around and hired someone. But it's like that. It's like when you go there, you realize, ooh, maybe this is not something I want to tackle. And then you go hire someone.
Yes. I had someone tell me once, the people that are going to watch your things or read your posts and do it themselves were always going to do it themselves. They were not going to hire you.
That's true.
But the people that look at it and go, ooh, that's a little bit over my skill level, or ooh, that's more time than I want to take, and hire you, like they were looking for someone to hire.
Yeah. And you're the person that proved above all others that you could do it.
That you know how to do it. Yeah, exactly.
I like it. All right. The next one on the list is Clubhouse. So to me, the way I saw it, because Angela and I were around during the rise and fall of Clubhouse.
Yes.
I feel like everybody jumped on the bandwagon and it stayed strong for a few months. And then after that, it slowly faded away. So after that, all of that, and the dust has settled, who is still there? That's who we're looking at if you're interested in starting a Clubhouse. Angela and I are all audio, but we're not on Clubhouse.
No, and it's funny because I was telling Jesse earlier, I'm looking at the demographics we found for Clubhouse, and we should be. Like,
Yeah.
we are their ideal demographic, the right age range, right interests,
Mm-hmm.
like all of it, and neither of us are on
Yeah.
Clubhouse.
No. So it says that it's popular among professionals, entrepreneurs, and tech savvy individuals, typically ages 24 to 45. It's used for networking and deep discussions on various topics with a fairly balanced gender distribution. So, yeah, like Angela said, we fit that to a T. We're tech savvy,
Yeah.
we're entrepreneurs, we're between 24 and 45, but we don't get on there.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe
To
we
me,
should.
I don't know though. To me, it just felt like when I went on there, it was just a whole bunch of people being like trying to prove they were an expert, but in a sleazy way. It didn't feel
Yes.
organic to
That
me.
turned
To
me
me,
off as well.
some people like it, but to me, it didn't feel
Mm-hmm.
organic, and it didn't feel like Angela and I always talk about realistic and candid. It didn't feel that way. It
Yes.
felt forced, and it felt like someone trying to convince you that they
Mm-hmm.
were the top dog.
And it might be different now, but when
Maybe.
Clubhouse first started, it was very difficult to find people on Clubhouse. It was very difficult. The algorithm did not work in your favor the way a lot of other social medias did, where you get on and you find one or two people you like, and then it starts feeding you other videos and creators and content that are similar. I didn't find that with Clubhouse. Like, I found a couple people that I followed on other social media platforms, but then all of the stuff Clubhouse was recommending to me was things I was not interested in, people I did not want to follow, topics I had never looked up on any
Yeah.
social media. So I feel like, and maybe they've fixed it, but I feel like going into it, Clubhouse was very much a free for all, and it was very difficult to find your people on Clubhouse and things like that. So it may be better now, and maybe that works for some businesses if you can just kind of get thrown out there to a lot of people,
Yeah.
and find people that way. But that was kind of my big issue with Clubhouse.
Yeah, I still feel like if you're looking for like one social media platform to get started on, Clubhouse is not it.
Clubhouse
Needs to be like the third or fourth one that you're just trying to, hey, let's add Clubhouse to the mix.
Right. Yeah.
The other thing I can say really good about Clubhouse that we can all learn is how they launched. It was true FOMO. You could only get in
so fun.
with an invitation, and each person only got so many invitations to give.
Yeah. That was so fun. I remember on the other social media platforms, people posting like, I have 3 Clubhouse invites, I have 1 Clubhouse invite, and people just scrambling for those invites. And there were like chains going on, like, I'll give you an invite and then you post an invite. And yeah, that was so fun to watch. They did a great job launching.
It created so much buzz. Too bad it didn't live up to the hype for more than a few months. But I will say it hung in there a few months longer than some other ones.
It's definitely kind of hung in there better than a lot of the other ones that like skyrocketed the first few months and then crashed. Like, it's just sort of plugging along.
All right. Another one that is not our demographic, which is why it was kind of hard for us to like be like, really, this is a thing, is Snapchat. I'm not even kidding. Like,
of that as
my younger nieces and nephews are all over Snapchat, which is interesting because, hey, look, aged 13 to 24.
13 to 24.
Perfect. Makes sense. It's, it's like short video content, casual communication, images, just like, yeah. So I guess that makes sense. I didn't really think of it as a social media platform because I'm not on it, but
right.
That's what's interesting enough is there are people who are. So if you are
and there
really
are businesses that market on Snapchat, which totally new to me, but
hey,
apparently
maybe
there are.
If you are listening to us and you are in your mid-20s marketing to people who might be 5 or 10 years younger than you, then this is perfect for you.
It's a great place.
And also, welcome to our community. We're so glad you're here.
And you probably also already know how to use Snapchat, which
True.
is great.
And that's what, can I just say, this is what I think is so crazy about social media platforms is how we're not even that much older. Like we're 10 years older than that,
Right?
right? And yet we feel like the
Mhm.
old farts.
Yes.
But we're not old.
Yes, and it's fun to watch those like, I have so much fun watching, like, on a macro level, the social media platforms. Watching TikTok in the early 2020 go from, much like Snapchat, mostly 13 to 25-year-olds,
Mhm.
shifting over to that older demographic of millennials that were leaving Facebook
Mhm.
and moving over to TikTok, and watching the frustration of that younger generation feeling like, oh, the old people are here. Now we have to find something else, was so entertaining. Now, TikTok still skews younger on the demographics, but there was definitely a big migration of creators into the TikTok space that
Yeah.
are older than originally
That's so
it had
funny.
been.
Okay. I cannot believe we're already 36 minutes into this. Sorry, but we're having
I
fun.
know.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks for hanging in there with us. The next one is Threads, which is the newest social media
Yep.
platform at the time of this recording.
Yes.
Now, here's the interesting thing. Threads was huge for like a week.
Right.
How many people
Yeah.
do you know are actually using Threads?
Most of the posts I see are auto posts from other platforms.
Mhm. Or I see people who are like, "Who's still on Threads?" Like,
Right.
seriously?
Is anybody still here?
I feel like Threads was so Threads is owned by Meta, who is Facebook and Instagram.
Facebook, Instagram.
So they were trying to do their own version of Twitter or X,
Mhm.
and I don't think it was like I think it was launched before it should have been. At this
Yeah.
point, there are no hashtags, there's no searching. It's just
There's no analytics,
there's
which
no
is
analytics. It's
hilarious
just
to
kind of like,
me.
what the
Love
heck
that.
is this?
It's very Wild
Now, I
West.
will say that from what I've seen, it's more female.
Mhm.
Um, but to me, it's like a
I
lot of business owners that are very solidified and are just kind of
Mhm.
like, hey, let's try this Threads thing, but they're like more active somewhere else.
Yeah, and I feel like Threads, I think if it can hang in there, I think it's going to be a good place, but I don't know if it's going to be a good place for marketing. Right
Yeah.
now, it feels a lot more like business owners interacting with each other on like a peer level
Hmm.
than people trying to market to other people.
Yeah.
That's sort of the sense that I get
Or
right
kind of
now.
like you
Or
said.
creators that are just sharing from other social
Yeah.
medias.
And I did see it's interesting that someone was like, if you post something on Threads, don't post it on Instagram. Or if you post something on Instagram, don't post it on Threads because the chance
Why?
is the person that's following you on Threads
They're
is
going to see
following
it.
you on Instagram.
That's
So
true.
they're
I
seeing the
do
same
see that a
content.
lot. Yeah, I do
Now,
see
I
that a
will
lot.
say that I've posted a couple things on Threads and then taken screenshots and then a couple days later posted on
Right.
Instagram.
Yeah. And I know when I was on there a lot the first couple days because I really am interested in a lot of this stuff, and watching these companies as they grow. And I told Jesse, and I had mentioned in a couple other places, it felt a lot like everybody was really excited and trying to be a little wild, but like quietly. like like in high school when the teacher leaves the room and everybody's being crazy, but like quietly so the other teachers don't notice that you're being unsupervised. That's what it felt like. It
Yeah.
felt a lot like there was a lot of posting, a lot of fun stuff going on, a lot of kind of poking fun at themselves for,
Hmm.
the big testing 1 2 3 was like the big,
Mm.
everybody posted it. And so there was kind of a lot of poking fun at itself for that. So it was very cool. But the fact that it doesn't have hashtags,
Hmm.
it's very connected to your Instagram.
Hmm.
Like you have to have an Instagram account to get on
Hmm.
Threads. So it's very connected to that, which means it's harder to explore. There's no analytics, makes it a lot more difficult for marketing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it is a good place for learning. So if you're
Yeah.
looking as far as business goes for learning or making connections with people, that could be a good place.
All right. The next one is Pinterest. Now, in all fairness, Pinterest is not really a social media platform. I mean, you
Technically.
can do comments. So I guess
Yeah.
that makes it social. But really, Pinterest is one of the largest search engines in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. It's more search engine than social. But we had to
And
include it because it always gets included on social media lists.
yeah. But in all fairness, there are a lot of people I know that are very successful on Pinterest.
Mhm. Yeah.
But again, it depends on your demographic. If you are trying to reach teachers,
That's a
Pinterest.
good one. Yeah.
If you're trying to teach or reach like stay-at-home parents who are doing
Yeah.
at-home education, yes. If you're
Yes.
doing recipes and cooking, yes.
Mhm.
If you're doing home decor, yes.
Yeah. If you're doing like digital products, like digital PDF like you sell on Etsy type things, that's a great place for that too.
Yeah. So Pinterest is really great for linking to other content, like linking to your blog posts, linking to your
Mhm.
offers, linking to something else. So that's why, like, when I'm, let's say I want to throw a birthday party, the first place I go is Pinterest. Like, hey, I want to throw a party that's, this color and this theme and boom, a whole bunch of things. And so then when I click, I'm either going to get a site that talks about someone's experience with it, with links to Amazon to buy the same
Yeah.
products. Or it's going to be like an Etsy shop. Here's where you can buy this
Yes.
pack. Or, like, yes, it
Right.
is selling. It really is selling, but I don't care because it's also themes like weddings and anniversaries
Right.
and birthday parties. And yeah,
Yep.
I
It
love
also has a
Pinterest.
wide age range.
It
Like
does.
from what we found, it says it's popular with females aged 18 to 49, which is basically all of us almost. All of us that use the internet. I feel like most of the
That's
above
true.
49 don't really use the internet. Um, and I still use it. I still use it a lot too for things like Jesse was talking about, or I get like, if I'm looking for planner page ideas, things like
Mhm.
that is a really great thing. But it's not social.
Mhm.
But you will see like Meet Edgar later. A lot of the other social media auto post things will
Mhm.
include Pinterest as one of their options.
Yeah. Because it's a really great place to post, to connect
Right.
to, your content.
Yes.
All right. The next one is Reddit,
I
which
love Reddit.
I'm sort of addicted to Reddit too. I actually really love the Reddit that is my local one because I feel
Hmm.
like that's where I get people's
All of the
opinions about what's going
information.
on locally.
Yes.
I'm like, oh, this is what is behind the scenes. Or I'll
Uh-huh.
find out such and such a restaurant is coming. I'm like, ooh, cool. It's like where I hear the gossip of my
Yes.
town
Hmm.
is on Reddit, but I never post. I just
Yes.
find
I'm
it,
the same way.
yeah. I
I
like
just
look and then
watch.
sometimes I'll click, but
Yeah. I
and then I
learned.
think to myself, yeah, there could be Facebook groups that do the same thing, but I don't know.
I
Reddit just
feel
speaks
like
to me more.
Reddit is easier to search. Like I see Reddit come up when I search things on Google a
Mhm.
lot. Reddit is easier to navigate than a lot of the other social platforms. Um one thing about Reddit that is interesting to me is that it's very self-moderating. Like
Mhm.
whereas a lot of the other social media platforms rely on the platform itself to moderate content, and you can block people and things like that, but it's the users on there tend to not moderate themselves very well, but Reddit is very self-moderating. Like you
Yeah.
very rarely get too many spammy comments or just really out there comments before people will start jumping in and like bringing the topic back to the topic at hand,
Yeah.
which is really interesting to me.
Yeah. I would say that it depends what you're on Reddit for. In my experience, I am not a part of places that do selling. It's more
Right.
just like news sharing.
Hmm.
But I do follow some of the entrepreneur threads. I don't know, what do you call them on Reddit? Um, but
I think they're threads.
Yeah, maybe. I think they're threads. And people can like talk about, hey, my business is XYZ and it's not going anywhere. What advice do you have? And tons of people will jump on there with all their advice, all their business advice. And what do you know from that? I know that all those people are probably business coaches.
Yes. Well, and the other thing about Reddit, I think Reddit could be really good, especially if you're a service-based business, because you can go on there and be helpful.
Yeah.
Like, you can go on there and answer questions, and it stays around forever. It's not like the other social media where if you posted something 6 months ago, nobody's ever going to see it again.
Well, and you can search it on Google.
Subreddits, those subreddits pop back up months and even years later. And so it's a lot more long lasting than, and it gets overlooked a lot, I feel like, probably because according to this, the demographic is males, mostly ages 18 to 34. But I feel like it's the undiscovered social media that I feel like has a lot of potential and people are overlooking it.
Yeah, it might not be the place you start.
Yes.
But it might be something you add later on.
Yes. I feel like Reddit is better for the jumping in and helping, like we talk about with Facebook groups, as far as marketing, less so than like actual posting.
Yeah. All right. And last but not least, the one that Angela called the forgotten social media platform. Tumblr. I've never been on Tumblr. I'll be honest.
I love Tumblr. And do you know what made me think of it? When you were talking about the older celebrities being on Twitter, it actually reminded me, there is a certain author, Neil Gaiman. He, if you watch Amazon, he is the author, one of the authors for Good Omens, which just released a new season, and several books. He is very active on Tumblr. And it, like, to the point that it's like a running joke on the internet how active he is on Tumblr. And like, he actually posts as opposed to having like a VA post. And that is one of the reasons that he is so popular and has regained popularity, because he's there when other people aren't. It's the forgotten social media, but it is a great platform, especially if you have a business that is deals in any way with like art, the different fandoms, like if you make the, Harry Potter tumblers or whatever, or anything that has to do with like the social issues, things like that. It's really good for that and gaining traction there. And I've seen people market different things, products and stuff like that on there in really interesting ways. And it's a little bit like Twitter in that it's mostly text-based, but there's a lot of images as well.
Well, again, if it's literally dubbed the forgotten one, you probably shouldn't start there.
Probably not your first one. No, unless you have a very specific, unless your niche lines up very specifically with the demographics, which just tends to be like younger. I think it's like 13 to 34 is the demographics we found. So teens, young adults. Like I said, social issues. So if you're one of the people that sells like t-shirts with funny sayings on them that have to do with current events, that might be a good place for you. Things like that. But it's also long running. It's one of the older social media platforms. It just sort of flies under the radar and just, it doesn't make waves. It doesn't have, big splashes on the news like you see with Facebook or Reddit with the GameStop thing. It's just sort of there. So if you are someone who has an audience in those particular demographics, that could be a good place for you to start. Otherwise, it's more of, I would say, like a secondary or tertiary platform.
Yeah.
But I had to throw it out there because it's one of my favorites.
There you go.
And it gets forgotten on all of the lists.
But not ours, apparently.
But not ours.
Okay, so hopefully that gave you a really great insight into where you might consider your social media journey for your business. But overall, just pick one. Just pick one, try it out. And just like anything else in business, no one is holding your feet to the fire and telling you have to stay there. If it's not working out for you, maybe you can choose somewhere else, go somewhere else, choose a new platform. Yes. It's totally fine to move. And if you feel like you can handle more than one, handle more than one. We're just giving you guidelines, not set in stone. You have to do's.
And another piece of advice, small piece of advice I would give is keep an eye on the other platforms and see if your content is being used over there. Because I see a lot of Tumblr posts getting screenshot and shared on Facebook. I see a lot of reels getting shared on YouTube or reacted to on YouTube, things like that. So if you find that another platform is people are using your content, resharing your content a lot on that platform, it could be a good place for you to look to add another platform and start putting your content on there directly.
Yeah. All righty. As always, it's been a pleasure, Ange.
Yes. You can come find us on Instagram because that's our platform.
Yes. At Marketing Moms Podcast.
Yes. Feel free to comment on any of our posts or DM us. We would love to hear from you and what sort of social medias you're on and why you like them.
We'll see you next week. Thank you for joining us today. We're so honored this is where you chose to spend your time.
If this episode helped you in some way, please share it with another mom who needs to hear it. We're in this together.
And if you're ready for next steps, free goodies, and more, head over to marketingmomspodcast.com.
We'll see you next week.